Good morning, welcome to Morning Review. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 28th of June. So looking at the euro dollar first, and as you can see yesterday, well, it was pretty much could be hard to be anything but an inside day almost, but pretty much an inside day there. And well, where's it going now? Looking really, we pretty much closed the gap yesterday that was left there, or occurred throughout the weekend. It's now pushing towards its weekly pivot sort of zone, which is not a million miles away from us, and certainly a possibility in the next day or so. Now, looking from an hourly perspective, well, we've already hit the daily pivot. No surprise, yesterday it was pretty ranging chop, effectively, pretty summarizes it. Today, well, we could get more of the same-ish. We've got, of course, lots of things going on with the ECB meeting and European Parliament meetings and every other meetings by looks of things, but key points or times to watch out is 9 o'clock itself. Then there's sort of some more meaningful speeches maybe at 9:30, 12 o'clock ish, but we could, and I'm sure we will get comments coming out any time from 9 o'clock onwards really, and we potentially could see some volatility. Whether these markets would just chop around throughout today, we'll see. But I'm expecting the hardish line on the Brexit to continue from the European members, and whether that will create some more volatility in the pound and the euro and have knock-on effects elsewhere, we'll see. But for now, it's a sort of a key day, but there's chopping over what's happened. There's little they can really say. It's more what they say about the future potential. Anyway, so euro, as I said, it's got a chance of getting up towards its R1. It's not that far away from it at the moment. Maybe it will properly close from the close of the get back up to that 11.088 sort of area at some point. So that's the euro. Let's have a look at cable. Cable being hit hardest, of course. No surprises. It managed to break. Oh goodness knows what you have any years lows here. I think it's a bit immaterial in terms of what it's done. Relatively, it's probably had most of the bad news for now, and it's a case of whether it can come back up and start closing the gaps and retrace to a more logical possible area if there is such a place. But I wouldn't be too shocked if we can break above this 4-hourly 8 to see us move back towards the 21. But as I say, today with the European meetings could be a rough old ride. When you come down the time frame, well, the obvious target, if it starts pushing upwards, would be for the 60-minute 50 and R1 there. Pretty much would be a reasonable target this morning, maybe, or I say this morning today, if it can get that way. Likewise, really, if I see a break of the trend line across the lows here, maybe look at the short side, but very aware of the 60.21 that's sitting just below, which may just hold on as support. We'll see how we run from there, but I would be looking for shorts below that 21 moving average, maybe back towards yesterday's lows. We'll see how we ride, but my preference is for a continuation to the upside on this sort of pattern that we're running up towards that 60.50 at the moment. Okay, that's cable. Looking at the dollar yen, and well, it's not really doing too much either. Struggling to soften it. The Bank of Japan are struggling to soften up the demand for the yen at the moment, and it's still holding down in areas where they don't want it to be. And I think until we see a more of an easing, we could end up with quite a bit of chop here. It is really quite a battle. It doesn't really matter what they say in meetings, and the fact that they're willing to step in and take action. The rhetoric is not really doing too much. They probably need to step in and take some action, but they know historically and in the most recent years, that seems to have a lot less effect than it used to. Not that it used to hold on to massive effect either, I should say. Aussie dollar, again, 2 strong days down, not as obviously quite so affected, but still affected down on the demand for the US dollar. It's pushed, obviously, most of the pairings down, exception being the yen. We could be in for a bit more of a swing long here, but we have now, or we are getting towards sort of the key moving averages, the 4-hourly 21s, etc. If we can break this hourly 50, I think I'll be a bit more positive, but at the moment maybe it may just chop around this level. As I say, if we can break it, it's fine. It's not the first test, it's the second test, so perhaps we've got a chance of it kicking in and moving up towards the R1 and maybe beyond, but not looking overly hopeful. Canadian dollar, well, we've seen the US dollar obviously gain strength and oil coming off, and we've seen a reaction also in the markets here. Bit of a sell-off through this Asian session as oil's toughened up a little bit, and we may see a continuation of that weekly pivot. It's not a million miles away below us. We have targets in terms of the 4-hourly 21, etc., which may just get hit. We're already through the daily pivot S1. Say I'm looking towards the sort of weekly pivot there at 129.25 if it can continue in this mode way. Okay, that's pretty much it. As I said, oil's we're just going to have a quick look at oil, and oil's pretty much making at least a short-term recovery here. It's maybe put a slightly higher low in there, but again, one thing to watch if you're trading the Canadian dollar is its potential resistance running into that hourly 50. That'll be a first test if it runs there at 47.23. Okay, that's pretty much it. As I said, other news, well, I've already said the news in terms of the Eurozone news. There is some US news, the final GDP coming out at 1:30. That sometimes can give the market a decent kicker, although in general it is the final or the third attempt at getting the numbers right. So we'll see how it is. Of course, they've got many more beans to count than the rest of us, so it does vary somewhat, but it's expected to come in slightly around about the 1% area. If that was to foul or whatever else, we could or drop down significantly. We could see a bit of a reaction or a decent reaction in the markets. Okay, or likewise, if it comes in better, the US dollar could push on higher a little bit more. I think it'd be easier or we'll get more movement if the data was to come out slightly disappointing rather than it becoming, because the US dollar is already pretty strong. Okay, that's it from me. I hope you have a great one. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.